Welcome to Integrity Inspire, your daily dose of inspiration and motivation, featuring the bright and talented members of the Integrity Marketing Group family. Now, here's your host, Integrity co-founder and CEO, Brian W. Adams.
Well, hey, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. It's always so great to be with you as we start off this morning every day to really just learn and get exposed to other leaders in our business and frankly just get inspired together. You know, I've been in this business for a long time, but I find that I can learn something new every day, especially when I'm talking to the amazing people here at Integrity. There is so much accumulated wisdom and experience in this organization that hopefully you all are getting a sense of all of that and taking full advantage of this podcast. Today, we have the honor of spending some time with a couple of absolute stalwarts in our industry. These are people who know their stuff and are 100% committed to doing business the right way. I've used the word legend a lot of times whenever I describe people, whenever I introduce people on this Inspire podcast. And it's never been more appropriate of a description than it is today when I introduce Mr. Scott Riddle. Scott Riddle is one of the industry icons, somebody I look up to and have looked up to before I even knew him. But Scott's the founder of the Scott Riddle Agency, and he's been in the insurance business since 1960. In fact, today, and this is one of the providence of us being on this call today, is today his 60th anniversary of him first getting to start in the insurance business, which is just something in and of itself. And so we're incredibly proud to have Scott join us today. In his long and storied career, he's done it all, and he's done it his way. He's worked as a field agent, sold in the home. He's owned an actual insurance company, and he founded his current agency that specializes in final expense insurance. Scott would be the first to tell you in our business, you're only as good as the team that supports you, and he has an amazing team led by one of our other guests here, Miss Jacque Huggins. Jacque has been in the business for over 33 years and is now the president of the Scott Riddle Agency and has been since 2011. And she also has done it all. She's sold in the home, she's led teams, she's trained thousands of agents, and now runs one of the largest and fastest growing agencies in the country. And so together, Scott and Jacque are the ultimate dynamic duo for the final expense industry. And I couldn't be more thrilled to have them not only as partners and honored to have them as partners, but also have both of them join me on this podcast today. So welcome, Scott and Jacque. Thank you so much for taking time to join us here.
Thank you,
yes,
Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
And it's a great honor for us to be on here, Brian. We don't know how to thank you enough.
Hey, Scott, it's our honor. Thank you for blessing us. Listen, I think that there is a lost art. I think this society, especially as we're kind of running so fast today, or have been running so fast, is there's such a constant kind of need or desire to get things done quickly, even more efficiently. I'm probably one of the worst at this, saying, let's move faster, let's do these things faster. And there's also just kind of this missing element, I think, of people reaching back and talking to their elders and talking to people who have done it before and have done it for years, and also especially going through different times like these and seeing that, hey, we've been through tough times as a country or even a world. However, they do get better. These times do get better, and we get through them. And we actually have great outcomes on the other end, and it creates opportunity on the other end. Scott, first of all, congratulations, man. You've been in the business 60 years. That is amazing. And so Thank you for all that you've done for our industry. Thank you for the leadership you've provided, but the opportunities, frankly, you've given guys like me and like so many others in this industry, and really done it the right way. You've done it your right way, but it has always been the right way of taking care of people first. And so just on behalf of everybody in the life and health insurance industry, I want to personally tell you, thank you. Thank you for your leadership and the guidance and just the inspiration you provide to all of us. So congratulations on 60 years, my friend.
Thank you, Brian.
I think as we kind of start at this, you guys both have been in this business for a long time. And Scott, I mean, starting with you, we've got a lot of great people in this business, but I think just kind of understanding how long you've been in the business and how successful you've been. You're literally one of the most successful people I've ever met in my life. What are some of the life lessons that you've learned that have struck you most over the years as you've been in this business?
Well, Brian, I think the most important thing I've learned is you have to do things the right way. Never cut any corners. That's so important. That's a lesson I learned very early, and I've tried to stick to it my whole career, really. Mm-hmm. And another thing that I've learned that probably the second most important thing is that client relationships are critical. You've had a lot of people on here talking about relationships. Our clients are our agents and our policyholders, and we do the best we can to keep those relationships up. I'll give you one example. The first agent I ever hired, I had to get him a minor's release when he was 18 years old. And that was 60 years ago, and he's still with us today. So,
wow.
That's
wow.
And still producing today, by the way. So that's that's the second most important thing I've learned. And these principles that we use, they're timeless. The stuff I did 60 years ago are the same today. They're just important today as they were then. The main thing I want to say and tell everybody out there, the best thing that I have ever done in this business, Brian tells you about a lot of things we've done. We've been successful. But the most important thing and the best thing we've ever done is when we joined Integrity for a lot of different reasons. But in my career, I've said this about two people. When I met Brian, first thing I thought about, I said, man, this is Scott Riddle 40 years ago on steroids. But, man, I tell you all what, I underestimated him. It's steroids and jet fuel. So we are so fortunate to be in an organization like this and led. I know, Brian, you don't like to get bragged on, but sometimes people need to know how important and how great a leader you really are, and we really appreciate that.
Well, Scott, that's humbling. Really, it means a lot to me. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I'm kind of speechless right now. I guess I would say that anybody who's actually ever met me would never think I'd ever even come close to steroids, because there's not anything that even resembles that physique on me. But I know what you mean, and that means a lot. Thank you, buddy. Especially coming from you, that means the world to me. You guys, one of the reasons I wanted to have you guys on, especially after our last call, just talking about today's kind of a different world, right? I mean, people are it's just a different world out there, and so there's been a lot of questions for especially agents on how can I sell over the phone and do it effectively. And one of the calls we had here is I wanted to have Bill Newman, who joined us to talk about how Medicare sold over the phone, and how he's been doing that for almost 30 years and built an amazing business, become one of the top Medicare agencies in the country. And a lot of the comments I got back from that was, wow, that's so simple. It's so much like our current sales process in the home. Bill doesn't even use technology. I mean, you talk about old school, man. He's still sending out paper apps and sticky notes, right? And so I think that there's a sense, and Scott, you kind of talked about this, about doing things the right way and never cutting corners. I think that's just a time, and you even said these are timeless principles of, regardless of what you do, if you do it the right way, then you're going to be successful. That's one of the reasons we named our company Integrity, and we don't use acronyms or things of that nature, is we want people to hear integrity, and we want people to think about integrity whenever we're talking about that, and we want people to hold us accountable to having integrity. And those are time-tested principles that I think are just so important. But as we heard with Bill, in the Medicare world, you can be really successful, and you don't have to overcomplicate things. And so in today's world, people have a tendency to try to overcomplicate things, and we know that you don't have to. Now, you all, and this was one of the things that just blew my mind whenever you and I started really talking, is you both have created one of the fastest growing final expense agencies in the country by far, and you've done it pretty much all over the phone. Most of us, I mean, I got my start selling insurance like that, final expense agents or final expense insurance. I never would have thought you could do that over the phone, but yet you guys have not only done it, you've done it as successfully as anybody else out there. So with the majority of your business being sold over the phone, how are things going today? How are you guys finding success? What are you guys seeing? Kind of what's the sales process you guys use?
Yeah, so Brian, I also wanted to say, echo what Scott said, and it is an honor and a blessing to be part of the Integrity family. But yes, with our sales being over the phone, with all this going on in the world today, it hasn't really slowed us down at all. As a matter of fact, our agency just had the very best month we ever had in March, and 90% of that business was done over the phone. So the opportunities are out there if you're willing to make the effort.
When did y'all start selling over the phone?
It was back in 2005. That's about
Wow.
the time that the process has started where we could have the technology to enter the applications online and do the voice signatures.
Wow, that's amazing. That's 15 years ago. I mean, if you just think about how long ago that was and just how far we've even come since then. But one of the things that's amazing to me is there's a lot of people that just get stuck in their old ways, their old habits that say, this is the way we've always done it, and by God, we're going to keep doing it that way, right? And so for somebody who has been in this business, if you think about this guy, you'd actually been in that business for over 45 years at that point, and you said, hey, we're going to change even at that point when nobody was even thinking about changing or even, really considering it. And you guys were the leaders, the early adopters in that space. So, man, I commend you guys for your early leadership on that and your continued leadership. It's just remarkable. In today's environment, the ability to sell over the phone has become not only easier, as we just talked about, but also more important of a skill. And each of you guys, have a really deep understanding on how to sell over the phone. And there's a lot of people who will be listening to this podcast that, frankly, have never done it, have never really tried to do that. I loved what Bill said on that one that we did with my parents, was the fact that most people think of using the phone just to set an appointment, but you can actually go way further than that and develop that into a whole sales channel for you or way to help people. So what insights do you guys have that could help others as they're kind of thinking about this?
Well, Brian, I would just say, first of all, you just have to commit to doing it. No excuses. You've got to put in the time making the calls to connect with your clients. Just like with anything, you've got to do the time to get the results. People are often surprised how long our calls last. Our typical call is about an hour and a half. but it's definitely worth it because, well, you know, you don't have your travel time from house to house like you do if you're doing field sales. So, you know, you got to spend that time, get to know your client, and build that relationship with them and warm them up. Just like if you are going to go in their house or you do have a face-to-face sale in the house, you know, you're going to look around and find some common ground to get them to open up to you and just earn that trust.
So I think those are all great points. How different, Scott? You've been doing this for a long time. How different is it, in your opinion? I mean, you got selling in the home back, if I'm doing my math right, 1960, right? How different is what you were doing in 1960 helping people today in 2020 over the phone?
Well, the only difference is instead of going in the house, you're talking to them over the telephone. One thing I want to say is that, you know, nobody today should be afraid to pick up the phone and call a prospect. All you successful agents out there have a book of clients, and the first thing I would do is just pick up the phone and call your clients, ask them how they're doing, ask them how their spouse is doing, and say, you know, you've had this coverage with me for X number of months or X number of years, and now's the time to sort of review your coverage. Well, that leads right into a sale just like you would be face-to-face. Everybody thinks this telesales is magic or there's a magic pill or nothing or something like that, but it's not. It's the same thing as selling in person. You're just doing it over the phone. And people ask me what's the best lead to use for telesales. I say, number one, it's your current policyholder base. But all you agents out there that have a stack of leads that you paid for, now maybe not, the state's got you shut down or you don't want to go out in the public, use those leads you've got. Call them up on the telephone just like you would to make an appointment, but go ahead and just go into your sales pitch. A wise man told me,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Brian, a long time ago, that one half of the word of American is I can. And everybody out there, you can do this. It's not some kind of voodoo science. It's just selling.
I love that. I love how simple that is too. I mean, if you just think about just the American spirit and where we're going to go from here, I can do this, and I love what you just said there. So, Scott, I want to dig just a little bit deeper. So there's a lot of people there's a lot of leads out there, and honestly, we're getting great results. And so if somebody's bought final expense policy from you guys a year or two ago, going back to them and reviewing their coverage, things may have changed, and they may have bought kind of the bare minimum back then and said, I only need $8,000 worth of coverage, but today they're thinking, man, maybe I need $15,000 of coverage. So what you're saying is go back to them and say, let's review this and see if we can get you qualified for even more insurance, because I grew up, my parents owned funeral homes, right? And one of the things, I've been around more funerals than anybody I know other than my mom and dad. And the truth is that there has never been a life insurance check that was too much. Nobody ever said, you know what, I don't think I need all this money. I want to give some of that back to the insurance company, because the one thing people know is they need more. They need more, and they underestimate most of the time. So is that what you're talking about, just going back to people, talking to your current clients? You already have a good relationship with them. Go back to them and say, hey, I just want to review this and see if I can get you more. Is that what you're talking about there?
Yeah, sure, because somebody's already a client. They already trust you. You already got their confidence. They're the easiest people in the world to sell. I'm sure a lot of the successful agents already do that. I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel here, but it's just a lot easier to sell somebody you already sold, I promise you.
Absolutely. I agree with you. So,
and something else, Brian. All this technology, this modern technology, any agent can start using that. There's stuff like Zoom. There's face-to-face, FaceTime on the telephone. You can even use Google Earth to pull up. You've got the people's address. You can pull up their house and see if they got a garden, or see if they got a pickup out in the driveway with a headache rack in it with some guns there. You got things to talk to people about. So use this modern technology. I know some of these younger guys are a lot better with that than I am, but it's a great tool for today's market.
You know, it's interesting. Mike Wingate, whenever he was on, talked about back when he and Tom Sheets were getting going in the business, they would drive by in the Midwest and look for people that had butterflies on their house, because he knew that if somebody had a butterfly on their house, chances are they were an older person and might need coverage, and they're thinking about that. And so they were using that type of information to help people back then. And so it's a really interesting perspective that you have of saying, use like Google Earth to say, if you see somebody has a garden out in their marketing or their house, you can say, hey, do you like gardening, and start that conversation. You find that commonality. That's just brilliant. Scott, Jackie, do you have anything else for the group? Any other ideas that you've got that could help people be more successful here?
Well, I guess, Brian, we've kind of hit the high spots, but I'm open 24/7. If anybody wants to call me, I'll be glad to share anything I can with anybody 24/7.
Scott, I love you, man. I that's what makes you, one, so successful. You are 24/7. You always are going. You're also always available. I just want to share with you some things. I've been getting some texts while we've been on this call, and you shared some nice things about me and kind of embarrassed me a little bit and humbled me. But I want to just share a few things that people are just texting me as we're talking right now, just about you in particular. Frank Buse, one of our partners in LaGrange, Georgia, just texted me and said, Scott Riddle is the best man I know, period. Words cannot describe everything he has done for me. I literally would not be where I am today without Scott Riddle helping me with my career. He always puts others first before himself, and that's how he is so awesome. I just got another one from Allentown. He said, Scott Riddle is one of the best men I've ever met. He is a mentor to all of us. That's some high praise. I also just got this from Sean Mike, who's listening in. Sean said, I love Scott. I would do anything for that man. Tell him thanks for all he does. Those are just people who are just listening in, and just I mean, these are icons of their own right. I mean, Frank Buse, Allentown, Sean Mike, in this industry, I mean, these guys, they are huge deals in this business and have been incredibly successful. And you're the guy that they're looking up to. Frank Buse said, Scott Riddle is the best man I've ever met, period. Like, that is something. And I just want to tell you again, thank you so much. Jackie, thank you so much for all you do and the way that you guys make integrity kind of what it is today. You guys are both just truly remarkable leaders and mentors, and I admire your dedication, your passion, and your availability. Leaders are available. Leaders are not afraid of saying, I'm here if you need me, come help. And sometimes we get stuck, right? Sometimes we get stuck and we need somebody to help us. And so there are people like Scott and Jackie that if you get stuck on something, man, give them a call. Give them a call, and they are ready to help in any way.
Yeah, Brian, I just wanted to say, yes, thank you for that. And we are getting a lot of calls from agents every day. And but even during these difficult times, we can see success, and we will all get through this together.
Absolutely. I think you're exactly right, and it's our job to help people, inspire them. That's one of the reasons we have this call, is to inspire people to get up and going and moving. And I'll tell y'all, we're still finalizing, but it looks, while we're seeing people have some companies are really struggling out there. We haven't gotten all the final numbers in, but we think all the early indications, if you look at most of our great businesses like yours, Air and Integrity, we think this last March, even with us going remote and all these different things, we think this March was our best month in our company's history combined, which is just a remarkable time. So not only are we going to get through this, but we're going to accelerate through this curve and even thrive even more. I do want to say, just from a compliance perspective, I do want to make sure that we're always constantly thinking about compliance here at Integrity. And please note that when you're selling over the phone, or you're talking to somebody about selling over the phone, that it's critical for everyone to abide by the do not call regulations and follow every federal, state, and carrier guidelines that it comes with, the compliance aspect, because this is a great tool to be able to use, but you've got to do it the right way. Whenever Scott first started out, he said it's important to do things the right way and never cut corners. And so we've got to remember that in all that we do, especially when it comes to compliance. So thank you again, Scott and Jackie. Appreciate you guys. Love you more than you know. Thank you all for joining us today on today's Inspire podcast. We got a really fun one on Monday. We have Ryan Kimball of Agent Pipeline joining us on Monday morning. Agent Pipeline is one of the largest senior market organizations in the country. What him and his sister Laura and his dad Larry have built there is it's just mind-blowing what they've done. They've done some incredible things, and so I'm incredibly honored to have Ryan Kimball join us, and so excited for all of you guys to be blessed with Ryan as well. We got some great leaders here at Integrity, and you're going to hear from another one on Monday. Scott and Jackie, thank you again. You guys blessed us all today, and hope that you guys have a blessed weekend. Thanks again for everything you do. Give the best to Pat and also Rick, Jackie. Give them the best.
Thank you.
Our best. Make sure that they know we expect them to both sing for us next time as well. So,
I'll let them know that. Yes.
Thank you, Brian.
Love you guys. Take care. God bless y'all.